We're back with another episode of the One Pour Problems podcast. Today I am joined by Bill Hazard, president of Novo Precision. Really excited to chat with you today and learn a bit about you and your background.
Me too.
So first thing we do on every episode, we have to talk about the drinks. So if you can, tell me, why are we drinking these counterweight headwinds today?
I will have bourbon occasionally, but IPA is my go-to. And I got to support Connecticut manufacturing, so counterweight headway is my drink of choice. And we try to have a few of those a week here. That is good for team morale.
Team morale.
Yeah. So we do a happy hour. We try to do it once a week, but so we'll break out the headways once a week.
Yep.
And get some of the team members together.
This is the stuff that actually keeps the machines running, huh?
This is yes.
That's awesome. Well, looking forward to this conversation and some good drinks.
The best. Yeah.
That is good. So I know today we're going to talk a lot about relentless improvement, and I know we just did a tour throughout the shops here, and there's a lot of different things going on, and you're continuing to try to grow these organizations. But I want to start off by just learning about you and your background. What was the journey that kind of led you to here today?
Yep. Got out of college, no idea what I wanted to do. I had a engineering background and a math economics degree, and ended up going to work for Arthur Andersen in their consulting group, and worked in a whole bunch of different environments. Worked in healthcare, finance, and then had an opportunity to work in manufacturing, and just kind of fell in love with manufacturing. So ended up doing a couple projects there with Andersen, and then kind of wanted to grow a little bit more. So I actually started looking for different opportunities where I could learn more about manufacturing. Actually, my mentor had left and gone to a different company, so I ended up joining a Toyota offshoot that was actually based out of Connecticut Spring, called Yomo Consulting, which had a lot of senior Toyota people, and we were doing operational consulting all over the world with Alcoa and Whirlpool and Dell and Harley. So it was a fun, tremendous learning experience in operational consulting. Then I decided to jump into private equity, and I was running the improvement organization of a private equity company, and then I got into. They put me into an operations role. So I was running all the small companies, and then they were giving me responsibility for acquisitions, for doing operational diligence, and actually purchasing, going through the purchase process of these companies, and then I would run these companies for a period of time before I transitioned someone into my spot. So, loved, that was just a fun process, and I got some experience in, buying businesses and turning businesses around and reinvesting in these businesses. So hit a point where I said, okay, I want to do this on my own. So about 11 years ago, we bought a company called TAC Enterprises, which was a small company here, around 20 people, and Novo, I couldn't use that name. That was the old owner's initials. He was a great guy, but Novo basically is Latin for to reinvent, revive. So we called it Novo Precision, and then we've been growing this business for the past 11 years. So
very cool. It's quite a range of things that you were doing throughout your career. Yeah. A lot of people are they're kind of quote unquote born into manufacturing, and in Connecticut there's a ton of people that are multi-generational, they knew this was coming for them. It sounds like that's very different for you.
Yes. It was a learned. I did not have the answer. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. Yep. And kind of once I got into the manufacturing, I was like, okay, I really love this hands-on, working with people, working with teams, kind of the daily challenge, the grind. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah. So, like, I know a little bit of things you just said are why you enjoy, what you do today, but like, what are the things, because you had so many opportunities in different places and different industries, what actually had you fall in love with manufacturing where you've been doing this now for 11 years?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, I think I like working with teams and working closely with people. Manufacturing is always such a challenge, right? Like, it's just one challenge after another challenge. Unless you're in the space, you really don't understand this. But what can go wrong will go wrong, and it constantly is going wrong. So it's always engaging. You're always working really closely with teams and building your team, and you got to work with the customers and suppliers. There's just so many different dynamics and aspects of it, right? Where I don't think you get that in a lot of other industries, right? Where you're working on spreadsheets So I mean, manufacturing I think is very unique in that, and the depth, and there's just so much there, right? So that's kind of how I've grown my passion for it.
Yeah, got it. And so you were coming out of the private equity world, and you were like, I want to do this on my own.
Yep.
What happened at that point that you now felt confident to be able to go make that jump, right? Where, you're going and doing it yourself and running and building.
It was definitely a jump.
Yeah.
But it was something I even going back, 20 years, I was always like, what, I would like to do this, right? Like at the end, whatever I do at the end, I would like the experience of doing this and having my own company and building my own company. So it was something even in my 20s, I was, it was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then with the experience I got, I really felt confident in, hey, I can do this, right? Yeah. I will tell you, it's not easy, right? But it's something I enjoy. It's not work for me. Yeah. Every day I come in here, I don't care if it's Monday or Saturday, I enjoy it. And especially now where we've come, thinking back 10 years ago, we were, fighting little arbitrary problems, and now we got a much bigger team. We're doing a lot more things. There's a lot more things happening within the company. There's a lot more new products which we're working on. Our team has grown here internally, so some of the smaller problems which I used to have to worry about, now I have really good team members that can take care of those. I have an operations manager in each facility. We have I've got a great finance person. I've got a great HR person. I've got a great, VP of engineering. So, we have a strong, it's a much stronger team where we're doing much more than we were doing. So we're moving a lot faster than what we were doing 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's what's, makes things a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's pretty clear to see it, right? And so we just ran through two of the locations, and just walking through, talking with people, everyone was super friendly, excited to talk about some of the stuff that they were doing and what we were seeing. And I think that, again, that culture needs to bleed down. And if you're enjoying what you're doing every day and making everybody else comfortable and have a bigger purpose, then that culture is going to bleed through to the rest of the organization. I think that's pretty clear from what I saw.
Yeah. It's funny. We've worked on, in 10 years, we've worked on a lot of projects, and I always say, the most important thing for me is what are the strategic products and strategic customers we're going to work on, and we have missed our share. We've certainly worked on a lot of stuff that at the end of the day did not turn into anything. That's the constant. I mean, it is literally legalized gambling on a lot of these things. It doesn't matter if you're working with a startup or a Fortune 50 company. Like, these things can you don't know where they're going to end up a lot of times. So that's a challenge. But hopefully you hit enough of them that they're really good. And one of the things which we've done here, one of the goals has been to transition to more of our own products. So we probably started about 20% of our own products we're developing and 80% customer products. Now we're probably closer to 75, 80% our own products, which we're launching, and 25% customer products. So that allows us to control a little bit more. Yep. Now, we're still in a situation where we want to launch customer products, right? But we really want to launch strategic customer products that kind of fit into, our expertise, and that we can have a long, prosperous relationship with these customers, because it's amazing how much we invest in each one of these projects. Even if we're making a product for someone else, it's a huge amount of time and resources to go through the learning curve, invest the resources, invest the engineering in it, buy capital. There's a lot there. Yeah. So if you miss, it's painful and it'll cost you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The what else was cool about the tour was you had shown a bunch of different products that were being made, and then also talked about you are making the machines to make those products. I think that's a really cool thing that you guys do.
Yeah.
That's different than a lot of manufacturers, because they're making the products, but they're not necessarily the ones that are, building the machines to make the products.
We have two areas where I think there's a lot of synergies in what we do. So we have this area, in our wire, tube, and cable business. So maybe it makes sense we kind of have 3 facilities here. Yeah. And we have 8 value streams. So in our first facility, we started with 10 years ago, is our wire, tube, and cable. So we'll either make you the product or we'll make you the machine to make the product, right? Our second facility, we have CNC machining and assembly. And our third facility, we have our Novo metal finishing equipment business, and then we have this Novo Lean Solutions business, which we're is formally launching in April, right? So
you heard it here first.
Yep. Where we have some synergies is in our machine build business and our wire, tube, and cable business. Customers will come to us and we can either make the machines for the customers, give them a turnkey solution to make their product, or we'll make the product for them. And sometimes customers will come to us and they'll buy the product first for a while, and then they'll buy a machine to make the product when their volumes increase. But the beautiful thing about this, and I tell our customers, is we run these machines all day, every day. So there's no one that knows these machines better than we do. Yeah. Right? And we know what the weak spots are, right? So yes, we're a machine builder building you this, but we understand these machines because we're running 30 of them every day, all day. Yep. Right? And then the other synergy, which with the new company we're going to have, is we're doing the Lean Solutions company is we're coming out with a bunch of new products, material handling, being able, FIFO flow racks, team workstations for assembly. We're coming out with air manifold systems for getting air. We're coming out with vibratory feeders to pick and feed one component at a time to an operator or to an automated process. So we have a bunch of these products which we're working on. So that's going to be really advantageous for us, because now we're going to use those products here every single day, because we're developing them for ourselves as well as we're going to sell those to customers. Yeah. So both those areas have I think, multiple synergies for us. So those are the two areas which I see long-term kind of growing the fastest in our business.
Yeah, and it seems like, again, they play hand in hand to each other, right? Because you're building things to be able to make the products that you need to be able to sell, but then you're now making the actual machine. And again, it depends on which side of the aisle you're on as a customer to what do I want to buy? Do I want to buy the product, or do I want to buy the machine and make it myself? I think it's cool that you can do either one of those things.
Yeah, and a lot of times the customer drives that, right? Like if the customer wants to own the machine and control the process, that's fine. We'll make the machine, we'll train them on the machine, and we'll help them if they need help in the future on the machine. A lot of times we continue to make all the tooling, so it's a long-term relationship with that customer. Or if they don't want to own that process, we're happy to make it for them. And different companies have different approaches, and so we don't want to be telling them what's the best approach for them.
Makes sense.
So
over the past 11 years, what would you say is like the biggest challenge that you've faced in the business?
I think it goes back to that picking the right products and the right strategic customers. Right? Because if we get that wrong, it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't work well. We've done some very big and crazy projects. The biggest of which is we worked with a startup making seaweed-based straws. So we developed a production system for them. So our whole lobby down there was filled with this production system. So we worked for a year and a half with them on creating the ability to, in high volume production, make a seaweed-based straw. And kind of what happened, my assessment of it was, their thing was, hey, once you create the manufacturing process, we're going to fine tune the chemistry to be able to solve the remaining problems. The problem is they could never fix those remaining problems with the chemistry. So we created a process for this, but unfortunately it never took off.
They missed out on some market research that it needed a couple more steps to it.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. But I mean, it was a tremendous learning process, and we got some benefits out of that.
Yep. So what to look for next time you get asked for something like that.
Yep. And that kind of actually morphed and created we have an operational consulting company which we run out of here with a gentleman who I used to work with, who actually brought that project to us and was working on that project with us, and he's now running our internal our operational consulting company. So there's always like benefits in learning, for sure. But if you look at it from a business standpoint, was that a success, a home run? We took a lot of resources and invested in that, and it at the end of the day didn't significantly impact our business in a positive way. So
it's funny that you talk about the lessons you learned from that. What I've picked up on is you really focus on having this like improvement mindset. Why is that mindset so like central to what you do?
To me, that is the fun part of manufacturing. And I'm always very focused on that. So we always have a lot of improvement projects going in. We try to in every one of our facilities going on. Right. So we're constantly looking at value add, value engineering. How do we make something better? We're in the process right now of we have a HVAC product, which is our largest product, and we worked with our mutual friends at Westminster, and we took an extruded part and turned it to an injection molded part, which actually eliminated PFAS from the product, which was a huge environmentally positive benefit. became a lower cost product. So that was an example, of an improvement project which we did. So we're always doing things. We always try to actually bring products back locally too, from a supply standpoint. And then we have our improvement team. We kind of say, we think we're a little bit unique. We're a small size company, but we call it DBOI. So we have the ability to design. So we can either help you with the design of your product, or design a production system for your product. We can build it internally. So we have tool makers, we have engineers here to design and build a production system for that, right? We operate at a relatively high level internally as a team. And then we have our improvement team that's always working on different projects to help improve what we do. So it's kind of like a full
service.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
cool.
And we're constantly, going back through and strategizing on what are the biggest impact things which we can do in the business. So, and then we have our internal consulting team, and then we're also trying to build automation capabilities here as well.
And you talk about like the improvement team, and some of those improvements you're like, they were learned over time and over projects and stuff like that. What does active improvements on like a week-to-week basis look like within the company?
Our line management is and ops leaders are constantly trying to do that. Mm-hmm. We kind of have scoreboards and we try to incent them, to make little improvements and solve little problems. And a lot of that happens just naturally within the business. Yep. Actually, one of the things which we want to do is more formal problem solving. We're trying to build that in. So the teams are involved and engaged in more formal problem solving. So that's one of the big initiatives which we have this year. So,
how do you plan to do that?
That is training and cycles, right? So, and just getting, people learning about going through that process of, what was the problem? Getting a team together to look at the problem, understand the problem, trying to get to root cause of that problem, design an implementation, or design a countermeasure and an improvement, and then measure that going forward. So we just had a problem today, and I'm like, okay. With our consulting team, we had a problem in building our new Lean Solutions product. I'm like, I want, problem solving, report out next week. Yep. Right? So some of that's just me, driving the team to do that, and driving my leadership team to drive their teams to do that.
Yeah, that's very important, because even in our business, we follow EOS from like an operational model, and then we have what we call our level 10 meetings every week. And in those meetings, you're problem solving, and it's, what's the issue that you identified? We talk about why it's an issue, what happened, where, like, the discussion around it. And then ultimately, once we have that conversation, we try to come up with either potential solutions or the solution, and then we go to implement those things. But it's built on the same cadence, right? It's very fast. How do you continue to make these improvements? But the beauty behind that is that it's from every level of employee in the business. And so everyone's thinking about, like, is there a better way to do this? Why do we do it this way? Like, it really changes the way that you function. Yeah. And that's been super helpful for us, for sure.
Yeah, there's so many, there's a lot of different management approaches. We use something called policy deployment. Like, it is interesting. Like, we have a lot of the same team members from when I bought the business 11 years ago. which is fantastic because the learning curve and the tacit know-how is it's incredible. So we're very fortunate to have a low turnover rate. We've had a few people who have retired, but most of that core team is still here. So we use a kind of a watered down EOS. We use policy deployment, right? Where I'll have my goals for the year, and those kind of trickle down to my next level manager of management. And that seems to be effective for us. Yeah. But the EOS is interesting. I think it gets more people involved, but
as long as it gets you to the goals, right? That's at the end of the day why everyone does, the different frameworks.
It is kind of funny, right? Because you can spend a lot of time planning and doing a whole bunch of things, and all your people can execute on their goals, and you can still have a bad year or a down year, right?
Yep, for sure.
There's definitely a lot of luck involved in that, or you can one of your businesses can grow significantly unplanned, and all of a sudden you're meeting all your goals, and you haven't done a good job in planning and deploying, but you got a good result. Yep. It's an interesting, that was kind of my thing within private equity, which I was good at when we were running these companies, is it just came down to meeting your number every month, right? It was like, if you beat your number by $1 million, like, they didn't really care, but if you missed by $1, like, it was a miss.
Yeah. Yep.
So we learned really well within all our companies, like, how to kind of manage that and make sure we hit every month. And if we were to go significantly over, we learned how to put that in our back pocket.
Yep.
It's a funny game.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because you talk about the longevity of your team. I'm curious your thoughts on whether you think that is a contributing factor to the fact that you've tripled your revenues, in the last 5 years, 10 years. I don't know the exact time frame, but lots of growth over that time period. Do you think it's because of like continuity of team? And
that's a piece. That's a piece. I mean, if you're turning a lot of your team members over, the likelihood of you having a problem becomes very high, right? So I think there's a couple ways to look at it, but I think it's very important to keep your core team together, right? And then when people retire, you get an opportunity to bring someone else in that has different skills and different capabilities, and you got to take advantage of that. But I think having the core team and just the morale and having that continuity, and there's just so many little things that need to be managed and that our people know is important. Yeah. I mean, everything comes down to a risk, right? Like, we've got all these different customers and these pieces of business, right? And if you start losing a couple key team members that are the glue that hold that together, things can become unraveled, pretty quick. If you bring someone else in that's new, there may be something which they bring, which is a different skill set, which is good, but certainly I think high turnover would contribute to significant business risk.
Yep, I would say so, for sure. Another part of the growth is tied to the core plating acquisition.
Yep.
What did you do there to grow that business? Because it seemed to be.
So it was a very small, it was a small business. I think there was 4 people up there, and we talked to them. So we were interested in acquiring the building. We had actually bought some product from them.
Yep.
And we were interested in acquiring the building. Then we looked at the business and we said, okay, if we put our marketing behind that business, we think there's a tremendous opportunity here. So we've done that. We're 3 years in. We've doubled the size of that business, and so that's become an additional value stream. Mm-hmm. Plus, it gave us a little bit more of a capability which we didn't have. So they have plastic machining up there. It's actually and welding, which is pretty unique capability, and gear making. So they have some unique things up there that we didn't have, which I also thought was interesting to add kind of to our portfolio of capabilities.
Yeah, that's cool. And so that's one of now 8 value streams?
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Very cool. And so when someone's coming into the business from a new employee perspective, how are you using the fact that you have those different value streams as like a hiring or recruiting tool?
I think that becomes something of interest because we try to, people become more valuable to us as we move them around and cross-train them. And there's a lot of people that have started in that building and ended up in this facility. There's people that have moved back and forth multiple times. So I think that's a huge plus with our people and the opportunity. We are trying to create opportunities for our people to move up in the organizations and take bigger opportunities. So, we had 2 really strong kids out of Bristol Tech that we hired probably 4 years ago, and one of them just moved over into our machine build business, which is a whole different level of skill set and tolerance from our metal finishing equipment business. I think that opportunity to move between these businesses is long-term attractive to our people.
Yep.
And that was actually one of the reasons we started the consulting company is we said, hey, this is an interesting thing because we can develop our people, right? And then these people may decide, hey, I want to take a management position in Novo, right? Or someone from our management team in Novo could say, hey, I'd like to work on this consulting project. So just having that variety, I think, is really positive for people.
Yeah, the ability to change gears and do different things, again, it ties into people's attention spans and keeps them feeling like they're learning. We
have some positions, if you're in assembly, it's a little bit redundant, but then we added another assembly, which is an electronics assembly. So a lot of our assemblers have gotten different experience there. Mm-hmm. So even within the different value streams, we have some movement and some opportunity to learn, which is good.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that's unique is the way that you guys, you balance accountability, but also psychological safety, and you let your employees know that it's okay to struggle, and that failure isn't bad. I think that's something unique to be able to create a safe place like that.
You can't that's one of the things we try not to overmanage, right? I talk about the 7 wastes of manufacturing, but one that's not in there is just overmanaging people. So we try to let people run, and we try not to overmanage our people on the shop floor either. Yep. Those are topics of conversation which we have. And if something bad happens, that's one thing we want to learn from it, and we don't want it to happen a second and a third time. Yeah. But if it happens once, that's fine.
Yeah, it's what allows them to be able to learn, know how
and they can't fear, hey, if this doesn't work, they're gonna, be upset with me. Yeah, no one has ever lost their position here for something like that. And we gotta grow the people, so we gotta stretch them, and we gotta give them challenging projects, and there's got to be, ultimately there's got to be, something to catch them if they're not, if they're over their head and not successful. But but that type of environment, you need to create.
Yeah, and I think the other unique thing is that you're always pairing, like, your younger employees with someone that has more experience, because you pair them to be able to help them with like roadblocks and allow them to, do and touch different products and processes that they normally wouldn't be able to do by themselves. I feel like that's got to help too.
Yeah, we have some very talented, like, senior level tool makers, engineers, right? So kind of pairing them up and getting other team members involved with them and to be able to use them as a resource is definitely very important, right? And setting up kind of those mentoring. We got a couple new apprentices which just started, who are tremendous. So that apprenticeship program and having them be able to work with all the senior technical people, it's such a, like, I think it's an ideal situation for them.
It's a testament though to the way that you bring people in, the opportunity that you give them, the way that you allow them to stretch and learn. I think it's part of what has allowed you guys to be recognized in the space as your Hartford Current top workplaces for 5 years in a row. Like, there's something to be said about the culture and the people that attract to that type of culture.
Yeah, we want them here. We don't want them here, and we don't want them like here.
Yep.
We're far from perfect with that, but we want them challenged and engaged, right? And it's not a 9 to 5, clock punching job. We want, it's really important what you're working on, and we want you engaged on these projects, and that's kind of the ideal situation.
Right. If you could give advice to a, young, whether it's apprentice or someone that's just coming into the workforce, entry level, that is looking to break into manufacturing, but they aren't sure about what they want to do in manufacturing, what advice would you give them as far as how do they make their start?
I think I think any of these positions, I think, you can learn. I mean, my big thing is you can learn from anything. But I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunities now in this state, like, depending on what their background is, right? So we have one young woman who just came to us who's a RPI mechanical engineer, who was working for an aerospace company designing gauges and didn't like it and wanted to be hands-on, and she's in her apprentice toolmaking program. So she wanted to get into manufacturing, but obviously had a little bit different skill set, right? But even if you wanted to get in like entry level, like you were just getting out of high school, even if you got into an assembly or something where you can gain some manufacturing experience, and then it's amazing the supplemental things which you could do if you have the initiative, to go to a good, I don't even know what the best ones are. I mean, Paul Lavoie at University of New Haven, is putting together a heck of a program, and over here at, in Farmington, Tunxis has a really good program now. Actually, Juan, who runs one of our buildings, is involved in that program now, helping. But there's a lot of opportunities. So my thing would be get manufacturing experience, and learn it, and then supplement with external training, where if you want to get into CNC machining, you can learn CNC machining. If you wanted to get into, 3D printing, you can learn 3D printing. So you expand your capabilities, and you have more to offer to the company, to manufacturing companies, because there's, the pendulum has swung. There's just a lot of activity going on in manufacturing right now. So getting in is not the problem. I think for a young person who really wants to grow, if they took the initiative, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there.
It's a great perspective. It sounds like, the synopsis is just start.
Yes.
Just get in.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
Start to figure out what you
and
have
then
to do.
and then supplement with taking initiative outside.
Yeah.
And then it's, we've got some great resources here. It's amazing what some of these young people, what they learn and what their capabilities are. There's just so many different ways of learning for them, and contributing for them in a company like this. And when they get into a company like this, they'll fast track through the company, just because they're taking initiative and they're always willing, and they're so if you have that approach, that's great. If you think you're going to show up there and work 40 hours and not be excited about what you're doing, and not be interested in taking other stuff, like, it's a long process for you, and that's a different road. So. But if you're going to show up every day, you're going to have a big smile on your face, you're going to work hard, and then you're going to supplement with stuff outside, and you really want to build a career out of that, there's just a tremendous opportunity for you. Yeah.
It's great. Phil, I really appreciate all the perspective today. I think it was a great conversation, and I got to learn a lot about you, the organization, and specifically a lot about the culture, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, and appreciate what you're doing for manufacturing in Connecticut. Yeah, it's very important.